Is there a Kompromat file to coerce Hunter Biden out there? I was given a tip. I don't mean like a tip in a restaurant. I mean, I have pretty good sources on stuff. And someone threw me something that really blew my mind because it's very specific, a rough time period and a location about the infamous Hunter Biden. And it segues tragically. And I mean that because it's just all this stuff is disgusting from my coercion angle here. So the Chinese are using coercion to influence policy in the United States. You can only use coercion if you have something to coerce someone with. That something to coerce someone with is usually a blackmail file of stuff you did that's really not cool. So Tucker last night, going back to it, because I don't think Tucker's segment last night was an accident. Somebody probably scooped him that, hey, this Axios bombshell is going to drop today about Swalwell and others. Tucker hints Joe at there's this agent they're all talking about. Next thing you know, next day a story drops about a Chinese agent in the United States and Swalwell. Wow. What are the odds? But Tucker said something else last night in the segment. He ends up this portion of his, you can watch the whole 8-minute monologue if you'd like, but I cut the portions relevant to today's show. He ends up this portion of his monologue talking again about Hunter Biden and Bobolinsky in the same segment about a Chinese influence operation in the United States. Why would that come up again? You think Tucker just randomly inserted that in there like the Chinese agent thing? I don't think so. Check this out and I'll tell you what I think's going on.
Oh, Donald Trump, he notes, because the Chinese do pay close attention to what we say here. Donald Trump has complained about Hunter Biden and his ties to the Chinese government. Those are real, he just confirms. So now you know why you weren't allowed to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop, why big business aligned as one, the tech companies and the rest, to suppress that story, because they were implicated in it. Back in October, we interviewed a man called Tony Bobolinsky. We interviewed him because no one else would. Tony Bobolinsky was a business partner of the Bidens. Here's what he told us about China.
And in a document that you guys have, and I think it's been provided to the world, the Chinese referenced that because of their trust in the Biden family, that Chairman Yi and Director Zhang are excited about moving forward in this. And in that document, they reference loaning $5 million to the BD family.
Right.
The BD family is the Biden family.
So again, if you're looking to coerce someone, especially an influential member of the Biden family, notably Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, how would you do it? You'd develop a blackmail file. How would you get a blackmail file? Number one, you'd engage in shady business operations and money payoffs, knowing what? That it's going to leave a money trail you'd want to hide later. And if you'd want to hide it, what would you do? You'd do anything to hide it, notably doing things against your country's interests and others' interests as well, in the interests of China, if you were looking to avoid that money trail being exposed. That's how I would do it. If I needed to influence someone as an intelligence operation overseas, right? Create a money trail so you can use that money trail to blackmail them later and say, hey, it'd be a real shame if this money trail got out, wouldn't it? But there are other things too. When I was in my prior line of work, whenever you traveled overseas, you would get a country brief the minute you stepped down inside the embassy. One of the briefs I got that really opened my eyes was when I spent some significant time in Russia. Oh my gosh, it'll be a subject of the Mueller probe. I spent some time in Russia, and you sit down with the ARSO or RSO, which is an assistant regional security officer that works for the Diplomatic Security Service, otherwise known as DSS. They run security on the ground. They're like the Secret Service of diplomacy. They're very good. Well, the RSO is the guy or the woman in charge. They run security for the embassy, the regional security officer. Well, I sat down with, I think it was the RSO or ARSO, an assistant, right away when I stepped foot in Moscow, because I was there working with the Secret Service at the time, and I was given a brief. And in that brief, they bring out a book or a dossier. Woo, we allowed to say that word? And in that book, dossier, whatever you want to call it, binder full of women, you see all kinds of pictures and stuff. There's a lot of black dots in those pictures. A lot of pictures of a lot of people doing a lot of things. If you get what I mean. Not all of them are government officials. Some of them are business leaders. And why would the Russians do that? Why would they wire up hotel rooms with wires and cameras and everything else to get you doing stuff? You know what I mean? They would do that because you probably don't want those pictures out. Some of them were really interesting. I'm like, ooh, man, is that jujitsu? What is that? Dude, a gymnast? How did that happen? Some of these pictures are really not good. So when Hunter Biden was traveling overseas, especially to China, let's say around 2014, let's say Hunter Biden was Joe, I'm just throwing this out there. Let's say around 2014, Hunter Biden was at a hotel in Beijing. Maybe the Four Seasons. I'm just guessing. Not really. Let's say in 2014 at the Beijing Four Seasons, Hunter Biden was over there. Now, you know he's gotten this brief by the diplomats on the ground that, hey, there's probably cameras and audio in your hotel room in China at the Four Seasons in 2014 because they want to catch you doing stuff that would probably be embarrassing that could be used to coerce you later. Let's say in 2014 at the Four Seasons in Beijing, Hunter Biden was there to do a deal with a guy named Johnny. Johnny. Crazy kind of deal. And let's just say in 2014 at the Four Seasons Beijing, well, he's there to do a deal with a dude named Johnny on the ground. That's some friends showed up in the middle of the night. Friends. You know what I mean by friends? Friends with Benny. If you're missing the video here, shame on you. My wife and I have little codes. Every husband and wife, she can read. This has a meaning. And it's not what you think it is. We're watching. Just know. Rumble.com/here's. So let's say friends with benefits show up in the middle of the night after Hunter Biden had been warned that there's probably video surveillance of your room, and those friends with benefits were in there for a really long time. Is there a Kompromat file to coerce Hunter Biden out there?
You just heard Dan Bongino.